Alright, so on number 24, it says evaluate each function of the given x value. So what I'm supposed to do is evaluate f of x, which is 3x squared minus 5x plus 2, at x equals negative 5 plus 2i. So x equals this expression right here means for every x that I see, I'm going to replace it with what x equals, negative 5 plus 2i. So I'm going to have, let me rearrange this. Okay, so I'm going to have 3 times negative 5, or x squared, which is negative 5 plus 2i. Let me go ahead and fill that in. So negative 5 plus 2i, and then minus 5 times, again, x, which is negative 5 plus 2i, and then plus 2. Okay, at this point, what you have to do is you have to be very careful about order of operations. When we talked about this in another video, but if I've got 3 times the quantity negative 5 plus 2i squared, I cannot distribute the 3 without squaring first, okay? Order of operations says I have to apply the power before multiplying, okay, PEMDAS. Power, or, well, I guess parentheses and exponent. So the exponent before I do that. So inside the parentheses, I've got to deal with this negative 5 plus 2i, and that's being squared. So I'm just going to rewrite it as this, 3 times negative 5 plus 2i times negative 5 plus 2i. And if you agree this is correct, then when you think about what you would do if you would, or what you would get if you multiply the 3, you would get negative 15 plus 6i times negative 15 plus 6i. Not going to give you the same thing as these two times each other, and then times 3 once. Basically what you've done is you multiplied by 3 twice. Okay, so I've got this is this, and then I'm just going to keep going. So I've got negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25, so plus 25. Negative 5 times 2i is a negative 10i, and then plus 2. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and start multiplying, and when I multiply, you can go ahead and distribute your 3 to those two and then multiply them together. I'm a fan of not distributing the number in the front until the end, because I want to have smaller numbers when I'm multiplying them out. So, no, you're fine. So I've got negative 5 times negative 5, which is a positive 25. I've got negative 5 times 2i, which is a negative 10i. And then I've got 2i times negative 5, which is a negative 10i. And 2i times 2i, which is a positive 4i squared, which is a negative 4. Okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and combine what I can. 25 plus 2 is 27, and then minus 10i. Okay? I could go ahead right now and distribute my 3, but I want to simplify the interior before I do. 3 times 25 minus 4 is 21. Negative 10i and negative 10i is negative 20i. And then plus 27 minus 10i. And now what I'm going to do is distribute the 30. So I've got 3 times 21, that is 63. And then 3 times negative 20 is a negative 60i. And then plus 27 minus 10i. So now I'm ready to combine everything. No more parentheses, no more multiplication. 63 plus 27 is 80, and then plus another 10, so 90. Negative 60i and negative 10i is a negative 70i. And so my final answer for that expression right there, or to evaluate that, f of negative 5, so if you want to think of it as like what it is, I'm finding f at negative 5 plus 2i, and that is the expression that I get, or that is the value. Okay? Now on 25, 25 is similar. I've got a quadratic, and everywhere I see an x, I'm supposed to replace it with this fractional, or this rational expression, 1 plus 5i divided by 4. Now, that can be very intimidating to some when you're plugging in this fraction, but like I said, well, I didn't say. Let's just take it piece by piece and work it and see if you understand it. So I've got 16 times 1 plus 5i over 4 squared minus 8 times 1 plus 5i over 4 plus 26. So everywhere I see an x, I replace it with 1 plus 5i divided by 4. Okay, so just right quick, if I if I square a fraction, like if I said 2/7 squared, we recognize that to square something means to multiply it by itself, and when you multiply two fractions, you multiply across, so that would be 4/49, which is the same thing as me just distributing the square, 2 squared and 7 squared. I can do that when I can distribute a power when I'm multiplying or dividing, okay, because of the way that the math works out. So that means just to square the numerator and square the denominator, or to think of it as multiplying this times itself. And so if you wanted to write out 1 plus 5i divided by 4 times 1 plus 5i divided by 4, that's perfectly fine. That is equivalent. I'm going to think of it like this. 16 times. Now if I square the numerator, that means 1 plus 5i times 1 plus 5i. And then if I square the denominator, I get 4 squared, which is 16. Okay? And then I have minus 8 times, and I'm just going to think of it as 1 plus 5i divided by 4, and then plus 26. I just dropped the parentheses on that one. I'm just multiplying. Okay? Now, when I do this, when I multiply and divide, so I'm multiplying 16 times this and then dividing by 16, well, 16 times a number divided by 16 might as well just be the number, because 16 cancels out with itself. It simplifies down to 1 over 1, so it doesn't really matter anymore. Okay? I mean, it matters, but it matters in the fact that it simplified away. If that had been a 5, if that hadn't been a 16, that had been a 5, then I would have put 16 over 5, but I'll just get into that over there. Okay. For this one, like I said, 8 times, when you have something times something divided by something, that's very vague. If I have a number times another number divided by whatever this is, I'll just give you an example. If I had 3 times 7 over, well, 3 times 7 nines, I could think of it as 21 over 9, or I could think of it as 3 ninths times 7 over 1. I mean, it's the same thing, right? The 3 and the 9 can go ahead and simplify before I figure out what that is. But anyway. Okay. I've got 8 times this divided by 4. Well, 8 divided by 4 is 2. So I can just think of it like that. Now I've got 2 times this quantity. Yeah? So let me go ahead and start multiplying. Or I'm going to rewrite it real quick. I've got 1 plus 5i times 1 plus 5i, because the 16 is simplified to 1, minus 2 times 1 plus 5i, plus 26. Meaning, whenever I worked with this one, all the powers, in fact, or all the rational things went away, all the fractional things. So now let's multiply. 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 5i is 5i. 5i times 1 is 5i. And 5i times 5i is a positive 25i squared, which means it's a negative 25. Okay? I'm going to go ahead and distribute here. I've got negative 2 times 1, which is negative 2. Negative 2 times 5i is a negative 10i, and then plus 26. So I'm going to go ahead and combine what I can. I'm going to go ahead and combine this just because I think a lot of people would. 1 minus 25 is negative 24. 5i plus 5i is 10i. So I've got negative 24 plus 10i. If I were to combine, well, I'll just go ahead and do this, just to not get more confusing. Negative 24, positive 26, and negative 2. Well, negative 24 and negative 2 is negative 26, and negative 26 plus 26 is 0. And then positive 10i and negative 10i is 0, so I've got 0 plus 0. The whole thing, when I plug in that, is 0. Okay? Which actually kind of means that, not kind of, it does. That is a solution of that quadratic if I were to do the quadratic formula. So that means I know the other answer too. It's 1 minus 5i divided by 4, because they are conjugate pairs. Alright, so 26. On 26, I've got to evaluate f of x at 6 minus 3 over 2. 6 minus 3i over 2. So I've got 3 times 6 minus 3i over 2 squared, plus 6 times 6 minus 3i over 2 minus 10. Okay. So the first thing I want to do is rewrite this expression. So I've got 3 times 6 minus 3i times 6 minus 3i. So that's the numerator squared, and the denominator squared is 4. And you can think of it as 6 minus 3i over 2 times 6 minus 3i over 2. All you get is this times itself divided by 4, plus 6 times 6 minus 3i divided by 2. I might as well go ahead and keep that. And then minus 10. Now I'm going to simplify what I can and then start multiplying. I'm going to go ahead and straight to this. 6 divided by 2. I've got 6 times this divided by 2. Might as well 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Okay, so that simplifies down to that. But this right here, 3 and 4 don't simplify. So the easiest way for me to think of this is to think of it as, instead of 3 over 1 times this over 4, I'm going to bring the 4 out with it. And I'm going to say, well, that's the same thing as saying 3/4, 3 divided by 4 times all that. Which I'm going to go ahead and start multiplying. Well, I guess I can go ahead and do this. I'm going to go ahead and distribute my 3. 18 minus 9i, and then minus 10. Okay, so let's multiply this out. I've got 6 times 6, which is 36. I've got 6 times negative 3i, which is a negative 18i. And then I've got negative 3i times 6, which is a negative 18i. And I've got a negative 3i times a negative 3i, which is a positive 9i squared, which makes it a negative 9. All times 3/4. And then 18 minus 10 is 8, and then minus 9i. Okay, I'm going to combine like terms in the interior. So I've got negative 18i, well, 36 minus 9 is 27, and negative 18i minus 18i is a negative 36i times 3/4 plus 8 minus 9i. At this point, what I need to do is distribute my 3/4. So remember, when I multiply by a fraction, I multiply numerator with numerator, denominator with denominator. So when I distribute 3/4 to 27, I think of it as 27 or 1. 3 times 27 is 81. 4 times 1 is 4. So 81/4 minus, now, I'm actually going to just, okay, 27 and 4 did not simplify, which is why I didn't even bother thinking about it. But 3/4 times negative 36i, you can go ahead and multiply 3 times 36. You'd get 90 plus 18, 100, negative 108i divided by 4. So if you did that, negative 108i divided by 4. You should always check to see if it does divide, and it does, because here's what I noticed. 3 divided by 4 times negative 36i is the same thing as saying 3 times negative 36i all divided by 4. Well, 36 divided by 4 is 9. So I've really just got 3 times negative 9i, which is a negative 27i. Okay? Like I said, if you multiply 3 times negative 36, you'd get a negative 108i divided by 4. And if you divided 108 by 4, and I'll prove it to you, although you can use your calculator. 4 goes into 10 twice. 4 times 2 is 8. Subtract 28. 4 goes into 28 7 times. Okay? And then plus 8 minus 9i. Okay, so now I need to combine like terms. I've got 2 real and 2 imaginary numbers, so I need to add 81/4 and 8. 81/4 plus 8. So I have to think of 8 as 8 over 1 and find a common denominator. And the common denominator between the two, I have to have a 4 in the denominator. I've got a 4 here, so I need a 4 there, so I multiply by 4. So I've got 81/4 plus 32/4, and 81 plus 32 is, let's see, 111, 113/4. So that plus that is 113 over 4. And then negative 27i minus 9i. It's just adding negatives, so negative 36i. And that is the answer. Okay? Really, the thing about this is just understanding fractions. 3 times this divided by 4, knowing that that's, squared. I had quite a few people on the homework on that. You would write 6 minus 3i divided by 2 times 6 minus 3i divided by 2. And you multiply these, but you kind of forgot to multiply the 2's. So don't forget, you got to multiply bottom with the bottom, top with top. But when you're adding, we only add the numerators. 81 fourths plus 32 fourths is this many fourths. Okay? All right. So 27. 27 is kind of a big one in that it has this cubic, quadratic, linear, and constant. And I'm supposed to plug in negative 3 minus 4i. So let's go ahead and try this. I've got negative 2 times that cubed minus 14 times that squared minus 62 times that, and then minus 50. Everywhere I see an x, I'm supposed to replace it with negative 3 minus 4i. Negative 3 minus 4i, negative 3 minus 4i. Okay. What I'm probably going to do is out to the side figure out what negative 3 minus 4i squared is, which means to multiply it by itself. So negative 3 times negative 3 is 9 plus 12i. Negative 3 times negative 4 is a positive 12. And then negative 4i times 3 is a positive 12i. And then negative 4i times negative 4i is a positive 16i squared, which makes it a negative 16, which is a negative 7 plus 24i. Okay, so I know that negative 3 minus 4i squared is negative 7 plus 24. So that is that. Now, to cube it means to multiply it by itself 3 times. So I've multiplied it times itself twice. So if I just multiply this, negative 7, I'll go ahead, I'll do it up here. Negative 7 plus 24i times another one, negative 3 minus 4i. Then I'll get the other one. So I've got negative 7 times negative 3, it's a positive 21. Negative 7 times negative 4i is a positive 28i. And then I distribute it in 24. 24i times negative 3 is negative 72i. And then 24i times a negative 4i. So 24 times negative 4 is a negative 80, and then a negative 16. So negative 96i squared, and a negative 96i squared is a positive 96. Okay, so I combine like terms. I've got 21 and 96. So that is 97, and then 107, 117. So 117. And then I've got 28i minus 72. So 72 minus 28. 72 minus 30 is 42, so 44. Negative 44i. Let me check on that. Just don't want to be wrong. 21 plus 96, and then 28 minus 72. Okay. Okay, so I've got that. That is negative 3 minus 4i cubed. So I know I've got negative 2 times 117 minus 44i. And at this point, it is about simplifying. So I'll go ahead and just rewrite this, and then I'll write it all out in just a second. Okay, so here we go. I've got negative 2 times 117. So that is 234. Yeah. So negative 234. Negative 2 times negative 44 is a positive 88i. Negative 14 times negative 7 is a positive making a video. No, you're fine. You're fine. They can't hear you. They can just hear me. So a negative 14 times a negative 7 is a 70 plus 28. So a 98. And then a negative 14 times, oh, I don't know that. Although I can figure it out. 10 times 24 is 240. 4 times 24 is, we already said that, in that 96. So 240 plus 96, so 336. Yeah, there you go. 14 to 24, 336. So I've got negative 336i. Now I've got negative 62 times negative 3. That is a positive 186. Quite sure. 180, yeah. Okay. And then negative 62 times negative 4i is 248i. 4 times 60 is 240, and then 4 times 2 is 8, yeah. Oop, I. And then minus 50. So at this point, I need to combine all like terms, so, man, I got really sideways on that. Okay. I need to combine all the real and all the imaginary. So I've got negative 234, positive 98, positive 186, and negative 50. So negative 234 plus 98 plus 186 minus 50, and I get 0. Okay, so all those add up to 0. And then I have 88 minus 336 plus 248. I'm making a video. You're fine. And that adds up to 0 as well. So I get plus 0i. And so the whole answer is 0. Which means that this is a root of that, which is kind of interesting. So if I had asked you to determine if this is the solution to that equation, because you got 0, like if I set this equal to 0 and that was the equation, then you would have to say, yes, it is. Okay. That is all of those. So I'll make another video for the next part.